Call the meeting to order. You all stand, please, and join us as we honor America with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And first order of business is public comment. Mr. Hayes.
Public comment. Mr. Hayes is here this evening to comment on an article that he read in last week's Journal Enquirer. Forgive me, I don't have the actual date of this article, but it is related to the pay raises that were discussed amongst the five of you and the voting that took place afterwards. And my biggest concern is that we're talking about $6,000, and I'm afraid we're missing the point. So I guess my first question, because I'm always nervous when I read articles in the paper whether they are actually memorialized in a true and accurate fashion. So did anybody see any inaccuracies written in this article before
Yes.
Okay. All right. So maybe my concern is going to disappear if you can tell me what was wrong, because
Sure.
I've had enough, experience with the press. I've never seen them get anything right, so why would this be any different? And before I make a fool out of myself, I got to hear.
A minor detail out there
Okay.
that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the question at hand was whether or not the selectmen would get the 2% raise. That was, but since you voted on the whole package, but right?
Well, the inaccuracies in there is the numbers are incorrect also.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, the numbers
Yes.
are very wrong.
Yes.
It talks about total amounts versus annual amounts.
I tried to watch on TV I could not get home at the time when it was being aired, your November 10th meeting,
Right.
because that probably would have answered a lot of
Yeah, and when they stated that the implication was that the first selectman's increase was $14,000, when that's the total salary for the year,
Right.
14 and change.
It also stated that the selectmen's increase was $1,300, whereas that's their annual.
That's their annual,
Annual.
that's their annual,
That's our pay for the year.
that's for the annual pay. So,
And they quote that the senior van drivers are getting a higher increase to bring them to minimum wage. They are not. They're already above minimum wage. They're getting the 2%. It was the home help and the chore workers that are getting the 2% initially, and then the larger increase in January because of
when state law requires
the minimum wage. So I can tell you that between Bob and I, we probably spent a half hour to 45 minutes over the course of a week and a half talking to Kim about this article prior to her writing it.
She still couldn't get it right.
Correct. And she had a copy of the minutes from that subcommittee meeting as well.
Well, the total, let me ask you one question, just for my own edification. I'd like to understand, is the total of around $6,000 the total increase for the fiscal year?
Yes.
Yes,
For
for all
every
of
position.
those positions.
That's
For every
that's the cumulative.
cumulative,
But
but that includes the selectmen, board clerks,
Snowplow drivers,
snowplow drivers,
senior van
part-time
drivers?
secretary,
Part-time secretary.
both here and at the senior center, and the floater for here, the fire department, all of their officers, the register of voters and all of the election workers, the fire marshal, the deputy fire marshal, the library subs, the library pages, the assessor, the treasurer.
They weren't in there.
Yeah, the assessor, the tax assessor, the town clerk. And then they said the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Correct.
Are those folks are paid?
they get a stipend,
They-
I didn't know that.
It's, like,
100 something bucks
yes, it's like $360 for the three of
for the
them. So
entire board.
the
And also,
record
yeah,
checkers,
Oh, various election officials. That
yeah.
would be
So-
record
and
checkers.
also that
No,
amount-
record checkers are
and-
different.
and that amount will
They get
vary.
paid by document.
Yeah.
They work on the town clerk's records.
With the amount of elections we have. You know, if we have one referendum, the total amount will be less than what's on there cumulative, so.
Just as a quick figure, using some round numbers, the 2% for the selectmen, first selectman and the balance of the board is about $400.
Cumulative.
Right, over that period of time.
Yeah.
My concern is, you know, everybody votes for their own reasons. You know, this is $6,000. It's not a paltry sum of money. Don't get me wrong, but, you know, we've got a Board of Education that is giving out raises that, you know, are historically high and setting marks that are off the charts. And so when I look at, you know, a disagreement over $6,000 worth of raises for 50 people, when we have, you know, a superintendent that got a raise of 3 times that in 1 year, I get a little concerned, and that's not the biggest raise that was given out by the Board of Education. So that's my fear. I mean, if we're going to hold, you know, these all raises accountable, we got to hold the whole town accountable. That's the question. That's my biggest concern, and that's the reason I'm standing here tonight, because without that, you know, it's a runaway train, and we can't afford it. It's that simple. Thank you for your time and your indulgence.
Thank you, and I hope this clarified the,
I think it's certainly clear to me. I
Right.
suspect that anybody else that read this may have had the same concerns, but, you know, there's not an audience, there's not a room full of people here.
No.
But anyway, okay.
any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I will move on to approval of the minutes. First item is item 3A, which is approval of the public hearing that we had on our new ordinance.
So moved.
Do I
I'll
hear-
second that.
Second it. Motion's made, pardon me, and seconded. Is there any additions, corrections, or comments? Pardon me, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Second item is 3B, which is approval of the minutes of our regular meeting, which was held on November 10th. Will someone move those minutes, please?
So moved.
You'll hear a second.
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
Thank you. Any additions, corrections?
Yes.
Okay.
Under item 7A, Human Resources,
7A.
I believe Gwen and I stated that we were voting against the Board of Selectmen, voting against the motion because we didn't support the increase to the Board of Selectmen,
Right.
because we had, and the minutes do not reflect that. I'd like to ask that they do. Under Section 7C, Properties and Facilities, in the third, actually, the last portion of the third line, it says, "Our Neil moved to put the funds from the compressor sale." There's no record of the second and no vote results there.
Yep.
And I have to tell you, I don't know who seconded it, but I believe the vote results were 5-0.
Correct.
Yes.
And then,
I can clarify that looking back at my notes.
okay, and then under item 9, I had brought up the topic of the economic development sign project and the townwide standardization, and there's no mention of that in here as well.
Let me just note that. Could you just hang on a second? Townwide signage. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you. I just wanted to
No,
know.
I'm done.
Okay. Will the maker of the motion accept the corrections?
I have some also.
Oh.
Do you want to wait, or do you want to hear them all?
Well, let's, yeah, might as well do them all. Go ahead.
On 7, I had 2 out of 3 of Sandy's, and my suggestion on 7A, to make that clearer, would be after the word increase, where it says forego the increase.
Which
That's the
line?
4th line down. 7A, Human Resources, 4th line down. G. Marion, SPROG wanted the BOS to forego the increase, and then you could just insert right there, to the BOS wages.
Okay.
And also under item
Sandy, you
9,
good with that correction?
I'm fine.
Okay.
and then under item 9, Administrative Officer's Report, I had asked about the status of the USTA grant. And so
That
that
was-
was not reflected in here. And the response was that nothing had been done on that.
So we're
So
down
that
to
that should be on there.
9. Noted. Bob? You good with those?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, all,
It's the seconder, and I'm good with them.
you're good with that, okay. And so all in favor of adopting the minutes as corrected, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under correspondence, letter of resignation, we have Ron Rousseau stepping down from the Conservation Commission, and Caroline Domenico from the Energy Committee. She's obviously moved out of town. We did finally get those letters of resignation. Under 5, unfinished business, I don't have anything there. Under 6, new business. Pardon me. Charter Oak Greenway Youth Path and extension. The committee will be meeting this coming Thursday at 2:30, and discussing really getting set up for the public informational session with our group. And also, part of the discussion will be further use of the grant funds that are remaining as to what we're going to do or where we'd like to go with it. And Gwen, I don't know if you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that, comments? All right, I'll go on. Next item is the Lower Bolton Lake status. George Knocklin is working to have his report ready for a public presentation early this winter. We're also looking to set up, either as part of that or separately, a discussion on the catfish stocking. We're right now trying to set a preliminary meeting up with the fisheries, just to get for us to get a briefing on it, and then to set up a date where we can, the folks at the Bolton Lake, anyone concerned, can come in and listen to what they have to say and what their findings are and what they're looking to do. We're trying to coordinate with the fisheries, also having our state rep and state senator there as well. And if you have any questions on that one. Matt,
We also have, the lake has reached its 1.5-foot, 18-inch drawdown. It's actually a little beyond that, but with rain today, it may go back up. So we'll see what happens with that. And Kim, I don't know if you really have anything else to report at this point?
what's the color like?
Green?
Still green.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll all be interested in that report this winter. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I think one of the issues too is our weather has been warm rather than turning cold. Generally, that stuff tends, whatever it is, will tend to go, but we just haven't had cold weather. So it's just extending its life, unfortunately. Yeah. On 6C, consider and act upon Deputy First Selectman. This time, entertain motions for appointment of Deputy First Selectman.
Mr. First Selectman, I would like to nominate Mike Aramita as a Deputy First Selectman due to his past experience being a First Selectman. I think he would be an excellent choice.
You know, I'll second his nomination. Any other nominations? Hearing none, All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And, yep, up into the big buck category.
Don't spend it all on coffee.
Don't ask for a raise, Mike.
Right. Item item 6D, which is the budget report. We have it, it's in your evening package here.
And as you can see, we're at 35.40% expensed. If you look to the far right, you now see a column that says FY 15%. This was in discussions with Mike. He asked if we could go back to 1 year ago and put in those numbers to see how we correlate over the 2 years of expenditures.
So you have some
So-
sort of, a comparative analysis in front, and even with that, if we, after another year with our new program, even bring it out a couple more, it just gives us a good basis to compare quickly.
So last year at the same time, we were 37.15% expensed, and now we're at 35.40.
Richard, do you have a copy of that?
No.
I can share that, I can share mine with you, if you like. I'll get another one.
Here, you can have mine, I have two.
Okay. Okay,
Here, I got an extra one, too.
all right.
Any questions?
Questions on that? If not, I'll go on to 6E, which is consider an act on the bank resolutions.
Can we back up 1 second, Bob?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Just as I run down here, I got a couple of outstanding ones, like data processing. We're at 52, and it was 29 last year. Did something take place that accounts for that?
Yes. Last year, we contract with CREC for our IT services. We pay for about 2.5 months, and the Board of Ed pays for the other. Last year, the Board of Ed paid their share first, and then we paid at the end. This year, we paid our 2.5 plus or minus months first, and now they're paying, so there's your
Makes
difference.
sense.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, I should have asked, but anyone have any other questions on it? If not, I'll go on to E, which is consider an act upon bank resolution. And this is, every time we seat a new board, we have to go through the resolution process. And it reads, those pursuant of Section 7-402 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the following depositories are designated for use by the town of Bolton: Bank of America, Webster Bank, First Niagara, Connecticut State's Treasurer Short-Term Investment Fund, Citizens Bank, United Bank, MBIA, TD Bank, Farmington Bank. Be it further resolved that Webster Bank being hereby is designated as the primary depository of this town, and that the officials of this town be and hereby are of each of them is authorized to deposit any of the funds of this town in said Webster Bank. Be it further resolved that until the further order of this Board of Selectmen, any funds of this town deposited in said Webster Bank be subject to withdrawal or change at any time, and from time to time upon checks, notes, drafts, bills of exchange, acceptance, or other instruments for the payment of money, or upon directions for the wire transfer of money when made, signed, drawn, accepted, endorsed, or orally directed on behalf of this town by or any two of the following: Catherine H. Peterson, Treasurer; Joyce M. Stilley, Administrative Officer / Deputy Treasurer; Robert R. Moore, First Selectman. Be it further resolved that until further order of this Board of Selectmen, Kristen Hecht, Superintendent of Schools, shall be an authorized signator of the checking accounts of the Board of Education, in addition to those individuals authorized above. Be it further resolved that Webster Bank is hereby authorized to pay any such instrument or make any such charge, and also to received the same from the payee or any other holder without inquiry as the circumstances or issue of the deposition of the proceeds, even if drawn to the individual order of any signing person or payable to said Webster Bank or others for this account, or tendered in payment of his individual obligations, and whether drawn against an account in the name of this town or in the name of any official of this town as such. Be it further resolved that the town clerk or assistant town clerk of this town be and hereby are authorized to certify to said Webster Bank that these resolutions have been duly adopted and that they are in conformity with the Connecticut General Statutes and the Charter and Ordinance of the Town of Bolton. Dated in Bolton, Connecticut.
I think they could make the next to the last paragraph a little clearer.
Yeah, but they love run-on sentences too.
Yes.
But will someone move the resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have in front of us our meeting schedule for next year. As noted, we add 3 workshops, whether we need all 3 or not.
There's actually
Well, it's 5, 3 in February, 2 in January, sorry. And also note that in February and November, we scheduled it for the following week since the 1st is actually Election Day this coming year.
And I also noted January and April are not the first Tuesday of the month, and I was
Right.
wondering why.
January, we have moved it back to that in the past just because of the time of year and trying to get it out with the holidays.
That's the only reason for that, isn't it?
And April, that we have moved back for the last multitude of years because it's actually the final 4.
To a day that I cannot attend.
Oh,
We can change it. This
that's
is
why
a
we bring it up,
tentative.
so we're trying to make it so.
That's why it's sent out as a
We can do it.
tentative.
So is January the,
No, it's not January, it's April 12th.
okay, so what
Does-
works, we can.
Either
11th or
the first
13th
week,
or-
the first week or the week after April 15th.
I don't have my calendar.
That week is mandatory
It's
midnights.
the 19th.
Oh, God, yes. Sorry, forgot, I do forget about that. Yeah.
The
That would
third
be what?
the third Tuesday is the 19th.
I'm comfortable
fine.
with that. You all good?
The 19th?
It's a long way from March 1st to April 19th.
Yeah.
Well, we can
Well,
hold a,
chances are, you may have a special meeting because your budget is due to the Board of Finance March 15th. So you may have another meeting.
after.
Does it make
March.
sense, doesn't March have 5 Tuesdays? Does it make
Yeah,
sense
why
to
don't-
move it up a week?
Let's move March further out a week, too, yeah.
Why don't we
Yep.
schedule one for the 29th of March?
Yeah, I think that's a better day
Yeah.
than,
If we don't need it, we don't need it, but it'll be there.
That's fine.
that's a
Yeah,
better,
that's a
much better
that's a better
suggestion than the
suggestion.
April
Good, like that.
Okay.
19th.
March 29th then, yeah.
And then the April, a week after the 12th?
No, no.
Well, no,
You'll just-
March 29th
March
You'll
would be
29th,
our
do
April.
March 1st, and then you'll do March 29th,
Yeah,
And not have enough paper.
and not
Right.
have an April meeting.
no, you won't need an
Unless you
We'll
Unless we
schedule
need a
a
special-
probably
we'll
have an
probably
April
have the
special
special
meeting
meeting.
if the Board of Finance
special
rejects our
meeting.
budget.
Right, yeah, because that's,
Yes, you'll be at Board of Finance, I'm sure, in April,
yeah.
Okay. So we,
perhaps March,
This works,
but
so
this
tentatively,
actually,
no April meeting.
no.
correct.
No,
Yeah. This one actually works better for budget purposes.
Yeah.
So, with that,
Well,
if,
no, before we go on.
oh, I'm sorry.
The final sentence on the page, subcommittee meetings shall be held on the 3rd Tuesday of each month.
That's what we had set out to do, but it hasn't worked that way as being feasible.
Then I recommend we
so
strike
can
the
strike
sentence.
Like that, yeah, let's do that, that's,
We basically put that there so that the town hall would kind of be reserved as a spot, but
Yeah.
that we can,
We can reserve the spot without,
right.
You
Yeah.
could book the room
We
for
can just
Board of
book the room.
Selectmen without saying it's.
Because quite frankly, we've held the
Scheduled.
majority of ours during the day. In days
Unless-
that
yes.
works for everyone, yeah.
And on the topic of meeting schedules, we've got to set the date for to do the evaluation of the administrative officer. We're right at the anniversary date. I think it was December 1st of last year when we did it.
We did it through a subcommittee.
Actually, it's April. when it
Yeah, we
was
did it in
on.
We did it.
No, we did it in December.
Oh.
It was December. That's when the board came together. So could we set that date?
Probably would be January.
Can we do it why don't we do it in the
Well-
next 2 weeks?
To give Mike at least a month to get into the
Yeah, but we
things.
keep pushing it.
Well, I
farther
understand
and
that,
farther.
but Sandra's got a short
Well-
calendar this month, and, would be candid with you.
I can weed out a morning.
Why don't we do it,
Well, you know what, when you, let me just ask if I
Okay.
may.
Yep.
Because our regular meeting isn't till the 12th in January. Sandra, you're going to be back prior to that?
I would venture yes, however, I am not sure.
Because that would be a really good, that week would be, the week prior to that would really be a good week.
Yeah, I can't commit to anything in January yet.
what about Thursday, December 10th, or Friday, December 11th?
Those work for me.
I don't know, I don't have the schedule with me, so I can't tell you that. You know what, we can do it, we can do the polling on that to get a date. That'll work. We'll put out a couple of dates and go from there. If that's, because I don't have a calendar, I can't, the only thing I check with these, so I'll be happy to do that. When we poll that and set up a date that works, I think it's easier.
Okay, so you're going to do that, send that out soon?
I'll send it out this week, so we'll have
Okay.
it. So I'll go back to approve the schedule meeting, the meeting schedule as corrected and modified, and that would be the April meeting actually being held on March 29th.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Not to seem stupid or anything, but is this an evaluation that's done by the Personnel Subcommittee and then brought to the entire board, or it's an entire board evaluation?
Entire board.
Yep.
And what are the criteria we're using for an evaluation?
I think that's necessarily
Well-
too appropriate to
Yeah.
discuss in an
In a
open
public
Okay,
meeting,
all right.
At
but
this
we,
point.
yeah.
But actually,
We actually have a criteria
Yeah,
that
we-
is
Well,
set and used?
could you circulate the final version of last year's?
Yeah,
Because I
that's-
never got that.
Oh, that's
None
the
of us ever
easiest
got
thing.
that.
Okay, that's the
And so
easiest,
then,
yeah.
Mike, you'll be able to
This
see.
way, everybody is starting from the same
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
But I'd like to actually see the signed one, because that's the one that was never circulated.
I thought you distributed those
Yeah.
to them.
I never
Bob,
got it.
he didn't send them out?
No, he did not.
Okay.
I asked him a number of times, and for
Oh.
some reason, it never
Okay.
got to us.
Oh, you should have gotten it, but we've got them, so I will make sure everyone gets a
Okay,
copy of it.
good.
We'll mail them out to you, so you have them. I won't
Good.
send them through email. Okay. Now I'll go back to adoption of the, our meeting schedule.
Not yet.
No, motion made and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, we have one budget transfer. This is from other payrolls to repairs and maintenance on the, is for the newer senior van, is for the chairlift. That, it's had major issues, and it can't accommodate some of our heavier individuals going in there. So this is to, it's not the full it's not the, cost of repair is close to $6,000.
6,500.
Okay. And so this is just switching some funds so they don't deplete their maintenance.
How is it going to affect the payroll, since it's coming out of there? I mean, will payroll be met?
At this point, it's anticipated that payroll will be close. It just depends a little bit on the winter months as to how much shoveling there is and how much spring cleanup there is, because that is where it comes from. It's the other payroll folks. So
It's not
the
for your-
chore workers,
yeah, right.
the van drivers, all of those people are at the other payroll.
And in the past 2 years, that's the area where we've had a pretty good surplus, so. I think that's a
I'd like
safe-
to just send a message to Jen that although we're moving this from other payroll, we really don't want to see those services to seniors for shoveling, chore assistance, cleanup, cut.
Yeah.
That
She
should,
won't, no.
should she see an issue, to please come back to us.
Oh, yeah.
She's well aware of that. I already
Okay.
made that.
Yeah, that was a primary issue, is no services will be denied because of this transfer.
And you may, much like we did with other budgets last year, you may see come back and need to transfer more money into repairs and maintenance, or now, her office supplies has money, but her other payroll needs 500 more. So this is just right now, that was the place to take it from.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, will someone move the,
So moved.
thank you.
Second.
Motion made second to approve the transfer and the senior budget from repairs and maintenance, from payroll to repairs, other payroll, repairs and maintenance. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Quick question
Shoot.
or request.
Yep.
Is this a form that's on the computer, easily
Yes.
changeable?
Yes,
Could we
she
put-
used an old form.
Do we have a line for their printed name? Can we add one in?
Sure.
You didn't recognize that signature as Jen Ochoa?
You're right. Signature's supposed to be recognized, not read. That's according to my attorney. So it just makes it much easier for
It's a
me
who.
and for everybody else to know exactly who's asking for it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Bob Neal.
Bob Neal. Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll go down to item 7, ongoing business, subcommittee reports. We have no subcommittee reports
Oh, actually, we have barn update.
yet. Yeah, I was going to have you do that under properties and facilities.
Perfect. I can wait.
Okay, well, because, it won't wait long, because there's no reports on that one. Bolton Lake Sewer projects, again, that project will be completed for our next meeting, so as a normal line item, we'll be taking that one out. And now,
We should,
Well-
though, I wanted to mention the correspondence that we all received as a
Oh,
board from
yes.
Tom Crockett.
Yeah, I was going to discuss that under mine, but this is a
Okay.
good time. I spoke with Tom, just so, this is an issue that he's having in the town of Vernon, and I guess he kind of misunderstood whose authority is what, but the property's in the town of Vernon. It really had to do with a property that was a seasonal property that he wanted the town to allow to be a year-round property. And so, as it turned out, I'm going to give a brief summary because really it's the sewer authority that in the town of Vernon that has any jurisdiction on this. Town of Bolton has zero jurisdiction. I called Tom, explained it to him. I says, Tom, appreciate your letter, but it really goes to the authority. I forward it to the authority. Authority will bring it up at its next meeting. And you'll have to work this out between the authority and the town of Vernon. And he was fine with it.
Well, I called him too, and he was pretty upset about the service that he got from the town of Bolton. And I understand that the bottom line issue was a Vernon decision as to whether his property was going to be usable as a full year-round property.
Right.
But as you saw in the correspondence, I mean, he took the time to come up with a long, detailed chronology of all the calls that he made, and a number of them said he called the Bolton Town Hall a number of times and did not receive responses or satisfactory responses at all. And I think that we should do better. I mean, even though it's not a Bolton issue, it wasn't our job to say your property can be used, that we should have a level of service coming out of this town that promotes goodwill and moves things along. You know, it could have been said to him, well, that is a Vernon issue, why don't you give so-and-so a call? Or, I will call you back if I'll make a call on your behalf, something like that. I think we've got to just raise the level of service for our residents.
And he did receive some of that exact information and calls, and his timeline, unfortunately, is not, or his letter is not 100% accurate either. So, unfortunately,
He responded, and he frankly wasn't pleased with the direction he was getting, that we can't do this, and that,
There's nothing we can do about that.
yeah.
Yes, and the authority can't
it-
really do
and-
anything
and
about it either
it-
because the easement wasn't signed, so we could not proceed with the
Yeah,
work.
he-
The grant funding
right.
is gone. We don't have any funds to
Yeah,
now go back.
The big issue was, during the construction phase, and everyone was made of that, you have to grant us permission, easement to put this in. Because when we're done with the project and we close out with the, our funding source, which was the feds at that time, the matching grant funds also close out. So if you don't have it, afterwards, you're going to be responsible for the installation, not the authority. At the same time, he was having some strong issues with the town of Vernon, as far as getting clarification where he couldn't. And he was holding off, and I says, Tom, you were notified a number of times on this thing. I says, we, the town of Bolton, obviously have no authority, can't do anything. You can ask the Bolton Lakes Sewer Authority for some resolution, but I said, there's no guarantees because we've closed this out. But, that's where you have to go with it. So that's the history as I followed through on it. But I just wanted to pass that along. I actually had that down further in my comments, it's down on the bottom.
How did the meeting go on Hillcrest Road?
That was a good hour, and it's still a puzzlement as to where the odor is really emitting, because we've since our discussions, we followed up with the company that monitors the odor portion. And they have a sensor right out very near her property. And the sensor readings never recorded those. I mean, since we put the sensors in. So one prior, yeah, we knew it was an issue, but they haven't been recording them. So we're going to be checking with Town of Manchester to see if this is occurring further down on the Manchester side and coming back into her property. It just, things aren't lined up right. So in our discussions, we spoke with the young lady and her attorney, and said we're going to check with Town of Manchester, see if something's happening back there as well as with Fuss and O'Neill. But that's where we are. And we'll keep them abreast, at least on a weekly basis, until we can figure out, where this is coming from. It is bizarre that it's there and it didn't show up on our sensor.
And we were able to clarify that it's the
Outside.
road. It's the road, it's not in our house.
Not in our house.
It's,
It's in her yard, yeah.
Yeah, it's the
But it's
outside,
from
not
the-
the inside.
Permeates.
Well,
yes, yes.
yeah. But
But our concern was that it was somehow getting in the house.
A bad installation that was getting in the house.
That there might have been a problem with venting or something.
Well, I've been in her home, and when the odor is in the yard, it permeates the house.
Well, it's in the yard, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying to literally, trying to chase that down, and it's going to be, next time we meet, we will have an answer as to what the hell's going on, because I was not a happy camper. Let me go on to, and also you did,
Facilities.
Go ahead.
yeah, the facilities portion, and I know we have some updates on the barn, Sandra?
Yep. Dry ice blast testing is scheduled for Friday morning.
Great.
During that testing, we'll be determining whether or not the State Department of Culture and Tourism Historical Preservation Office will approve the methodology for the dry ice blasting for removing the char and the soot from the site, and then hopefully go forward. And Joyce and I got a contract today to review for the second bidder on the project. So things are moving forward there.
Good.
Question?
Yep.
Is there a written long-range plan for the buildings on the farm?
A written long-range plan.
Where are we going,
The,
money and usage?
I
and-
suggest that you go back and, Joyce, can you get him a copy of the Bolton Center study?
He has it
Yeah,
already.
because the Heritage Farm Commission has adopted the Bolton Center study, as has this board, well, the prior board.
And that kind of, well, that steps into, that, you don't have anything on revenue sources, do you? All right, kind of steps into,
Did that answer your question?
Yes and no.
Okay.
well,
It's a question that,
yep,
that's, as we speak of finances here in
Yep.
town and money, and, where money is going to in the appropriate locations and things like that, and, what is our goal for that? And how many hundreds of thousands are we going to put into it to reach that goal, and is it in the grand scheme, or at least my idea of the grand scheme of the town's needs, is, are we going to get something out of it in the end that makes the money spent worthwhile?
I
And-
think
no, go ahead. No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I think whether or not the money spent worthwhile is a lot of, goes back to philosophical parts, but after you've had the chance to review the Bolton Center study, I'd be really happy at our retreat meeting to walk you through where the money will be spent and what we expect to get when we're done.
Okay, that's fine.
And nice segue into my report, which is, that will be one of the items we'll be going over at our retreat. You should have all gotten that,
Doodle request came out about 5 o'clock tonight.
5, okay. But, and obviously, we have a lot of fiscal issues among other things to go over. That's obviously one of them. And I noted that this will be one of at least two. I mean, there's a lot to cover, and I think, to be fair, we shouldn't rush it. I think we should deal with a portion and then deal with the next portion and moving on. I think at the retreat we can work a time at that time for our next one, so we can just keep this process going. Because we have a lot to deal with to get set up with this coming year. And so anyhow, once we'll get started at the first retreat, and Michael, that's a part of the issues that we're going to be discussing there.
Okay.
Are you going to go over the status of the high school audit under properties facilities?
We can.
Sure.
The architect's firm should, within the next week, have the submission ready to send to the state for their review for the LEED certification. They had thought that they would get it done by last week, but he unfortunately was out sick for a week, so it kind of delayed things a week. But in his emails, they feel that they have all the data, they've put it into the form necessary, and working to finalize that to get it within the next, I would say, week or two to the state for review.
And then following that, once they get it, and we've kind of asked Linda to, quietly anyways, to get a sense, to see if we can get a quick answer from the state if they will give us permission to for us to hire a person to review it rather than wait for them to do it. Because that cost is part of what the state would absorb anyway. So that's the following process. This is a key element. Once we get this moving, I think we're going to try and do as aggressively without taking off the state. It's a delicate little dance, so,
Is this the time to reach out to our state senator and state rep and ask them to step in as well?
That was right after she has the backdoor conversations.
Until we know that the certification's going through, because there's been pieces of it before that the state has said, no, we need you to look at this if you want this credit, and they keep sending it back to us. So I would wait until we have a better sense that the state
But that's a
group
trigger.
that is reviewing
That's a
this.
trigger, that if we have to pull, it'll be early winter when we pull that trigger. But I think,
I think that's a trigger we should not hesitate to pull. They're always asking, what can we do for you?
Oh, yeah.
This is certainly
well,
something they can do for us.
but they should be kept abreast of where things are so that they can easily jump in. I fully concur with that.
And what is the state department that submission goes to?
I would have to verify that. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was OPM was involved in the thing, but I'm not
think
sure
it is
what.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
they keep reorganizing.
when they reorganize, I'm
things
not
go.
sure where it is right now. OPM used to do it. All right. If there are no questions on that, I'm gonna go on to my report under 6A subcommittees. And if, Michael, you would fill the vacancies of Bob Lassard's on his committees. And I'll hand out afterwards. Economic development, I did mention that we did have some interest from the folks over at the Bolton Lakes, that commercial parcel. I had them come in, they met with Patrice, zoning enforcement officer, wetlands, we had everyone there. So and any initial questions were answered, and I said if you had any additional questions, and if you needed a guided through, we worked it out that Patrice would be their point. Spoke today is just before I'm sitting in the chair, yesterday, have my head drilled. So it looks like they're going forward with the project, and they'll be in contact with the town in the next 3 weeks as to just how they want to move forward with it. So they have decisions to make as to how they want to move the project forward. So I don't want to get into those details, but it's their decisions, and once they move, he says his goal is to have his permits and construction in place in 2016. So that's good.
Bob, I think it's also worth mentioning that the planning and zoning approved drive-throughs by special permit.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. That was quite an eventful evening.
Yes, it was.
I appreciate that. Under the STEEP grant, we'll be, we're noticed that the next round, the grant applications are due January 15th. Also, that's an item to be discussed, I think, at the retreat as well. A couple of things we should be looking at on that is, are we going to resubmit what we did, for the tennis courts, or are we looking to resubmit for something else, such as the septic system, community septic system for town hall, the farm, and the library and all that? I mean, those are just,
Is that an eligible project under that program?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so those are things we talk about. And again, that's a good retreat item, because it needs a lot of input, a lot of discussion to come up with it. But just to make you aware that that's upcoming, and we want to be ready to have a consensus moving forward on that project. And spoke with the chairman of the Energy Commission. He's setting up his meeting in January, and hopefully, we did have a person step down. Hopefully we can get some interest back into it and fill that position. We have notified the various town committees on our websites that we are looking for volunteers, but I mentioned it tonight, so if you have someone who...
It wasn't on the vacancy list on the website today.
No,
Not yet.
because you just accepted
Okay.
the resignation tonight.
Okay, so
So-
it'll be there tomorrow.
You'll be tomorrow, yeah, I'm sorry. We just got that resignation. But just to let you know that'll be good to fill that one up. And that's it, except for two things. One, it's rare that we have our December meeting the 1st, which is beginning of the holiday season. So this may be rushing it, but on behalf of the entire board, we'd like to wish the town of Bolton a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. Since I celebrate both, I really enjoy this festive time of the year. So happy holidays from the entire board. And with that,
Before you get off the happy holiday thing, I just want to remind everybody that Breakfast with Santa is this coming Saturday, December 5th,
Yep.
at the Firehouse, followed by the Winter Fair at the Center School, followed by the Christmas Parade starting at the elementary school, coming up to the green, followed by the tree lighting. So Saturday is a very festive day in
yes.
Bolton.
Followed by Community Voice Channel. Next
Yes.
week, you can go and see Santa and Mrs. Claus.
That's right.
And reservations are due by tomorrow, but you can bring your letter and give it to Santa. I'm sorry, due Thursday, December 3rd.
Well, we've got them all in? Okay. Excellent.
Busy
All right.
time of year.
Administrative officers report.
Okay, as Bob mentioned about the boards and commissions, we're working on those postings. Follow up, the EDC sign, I did talk to Bill Anderson. He did not feel that they were, that they actually have a design yet, that they look back at old ones, but they have talked about the VCI report and the common signage. So he didn't think that they were as far along as you had thought. That's all I can go
Okay.
off of. He just assumed
not
the
what their minutes
chairmanship
said,
in the
but
last
that's
couple of
okay.
minutes, or last couple of meetings. Also, we have talked about in the past about having a Freedom of Information program. We have set up January 25th at 6:30. It's a Monday night. Tom Hennick, who's the public education officer, will be here. He has wanted to come out to Bolton for some time to do an FOI, and it'll be, the invitation will go out now tomorrow. We just got this set up today, to all the boards and commissions, elected and appointed, and all, certainly department heads. Other staff can come as well. So
You just spell that guy's last name, please.
Hennick, I believe.
Thank you.
Lastly, the expressway properties. I have an opinion that I'll hand out to you tonight. I just wanted to preface the opinion in that we had hoped to get a follow-up opinion, and that's why you don't have it as of yet. We actually, Patrice and I talked to Rich Barger, who is working remotely now. He had transferred the information to Carolyn Young, who actually did the opinion letter, and it got slightly misconstrued in that it talked about that just dealing with the property between Notch Road and Notch Road Extension that you looked at last time, that we definitely did not want to take it as open space and that we wanted to give it back to the individuals, which no decision has been made on any of that yet. So she's looking at the other scenarios of it as to, if we wanted to keep it as open space, if we wanted to create the parking for the trail at the bottom, combination thereof, if we wanted to do easements, and also looking at the other side of Route 6 where it will be a trail. And where that will have the open space designation from the state on it, we know. So there's a little bit more work to do with it, and I have copies of the opinion to give you tonight to look through it. Just be aware that we're going to get more, and the selectmen, if you have it before your retreat, you can certainly discuss, to make sure you're all on the same page about the properties at that point, but we're not being asked to take any action. And this just pertains to if we are giving the land back to the homeowners as to what steps are necessary. And that would require town meeting, but not planning and zoning under 8-24.
Joyce, what were the questions that you asked of Attorney Barger to address?
We had a discussion with him about the properties and how they created the properties being landlocked, and that DOT was willing to give it back to us without the open space restriction on it, leaving it open for the town to look at what we wish to do with it. We discussed the use of part of it possibly for parking for the trail. We discussed giving easements to the landowners. We discussed giving it back to the landowners. We did not discuss putting a road in because that was not feasible. So we
What
looked
was-
at it from the trail perspective, from the open space perspective.
But what legal question did you ask Rich to answer?
What steps would the town need to take to be able to accept the property and move forward in one of those scenarios?
Were these landowners compensated when the state took the property?
We would believe that some were, but the easements don't necessarily show that, how much or anything from the state. Some say they were condemned, some say,
Yeah, if it was minimal, because it's a 50-foot strip right down through the middle of two large parcels. So its market value was peanuts. I mean, if they got $1,000 out of it or two, it would have been a lot. When you think back when they did that, the land was so.
It had to be in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, so I mean, I would think we're talking hundreds of dollars rather than thousands of dollars. Because and the unfortunate thing, this is one where, this is a nice large parcel, two of them were large parcels of land, and this thing went right down the middle of it, one, and chopped off the tail portion of the other. And it, to me, that's almost an injustice, and I think if we can correct that, look, I mean, this is just looking forward thing to discuss. If we can correct that, and that would be a good thing. And at the same time, there's a little piece at the bottom that's absolutely ideal for entryway to walking path and everything else, which we discussed earlier. That would behoove the town to keep that and utilize it, and still provide the homeowner, the property owner, with access to that little piece that was cut off with them. So that one, I'm sure, was compensated at a different level than that other piece was, because it actually had frontage. That one, I'm sure the compensation was much different.
and one of the parcels was landlocked. This
Yeah.
would have created, it would have
Another land-
unlandlocked it.
Yeah.
So now it goes back to being
There's a little
landlocked.
triangular piece off of, it was just this little triangle in the middle of no man's land. It will attach back to its regular piece.
Right, and it's actually owned by the abutting landowner
Yeah.
who does have frontage on Cook Drive.
Pretty complex.
Yeah, well,
When you look at the maps, it's.
it's,
a lot easier to
yeah,
see.
yeah, once you see the map, it's really straightforward. It really is. And I think if done right, we can do some, what I call, correct some injustices that were done, and everyone come out ahead of the game. Is that it? I just, under appointments, pardon me, we still have a couple of things. We have an opening for a full seat on the Senior Citizens Committee, and Tina Gouffre, who is an alternate, has requested to be put on the.
I move we appoint Tina, first of all, that we accept her resignation as an alternate and appoint her as a permanent member of the Senior Citizen Commission.
The term would be 7/1 of 2019.
Thank you, for the term ending 7/1/19.
I'll second that.
Motion made second. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Under appointments is the Bolton Lake Sewer Authority Board of Directors. These are reappointments for myself as a member and the administrative officer as an alternate. And these are 3-year appointments. Someone want to move that?
I move it.
Second it? Someone?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Comments?
I would like to see the alternate an elected official rather than our administrative officer, who's also compensated to be the board clerk for the Water Pollution Committee.
I'm not compensated as a separate board clerk.
She's compensated as administrator.
Just as administrator of the town of Bolton,
No, for the
for the
authority.
authority.
Right.
Correct. So I would still prefer to see an elected official in that spot.
Yeah, I think it might be good to get somebody else on there for a broader vision. I mean, you two have been involved in the project right from the beginning, so you have intimate knowledge of it, but it might be good to give that alternate position to somebody else who doesn't have as much knowledge and who could get up to speed and
For-
bring a different
I
perspective.
appreciate your comments, but to give you a little history as to what we've done between the town of Vernon and the town of Bolton. In the, on the political side, in the, both the town of Vernon, the mayor sits on the board, and in the town of Bolton, it has been the first selectman. And they've had each of their administrative officers serve as alternates on there, and basically for consistency, if we have a big change of personnel, there's that consistency of having a paid personnel, somebody that's there. That's the reasoning in both towns. We basically have set it up to work that way, and that's why it exists that way. And I think there's sound reasoning for that, and that's why it's structured that way. So with that, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. Another appointment would be confirmation appointment by the Fire Commission of the deputy fire marshals, and our two, which is Laurie Volkert and our building official, James Rupert. And again, that's a term ending 7/1/17.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any comments? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. And motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone have a pleasant holiday.